He put out a video called "What Happened to the Biggest NBA Trades in the 2010s." I saw the thumbnail and it really caught my eye. You see what I'm saying? So let's get right into it.
Wild decade in the NBA with so much more player movement.
My day's been good. My day's been good, man.
In the history of the league, which led to some pretty incredible trades. Ones that ruined teams, ended eras, shaped the future of franchises, and some that even led directly to an NBA championship. And that
I need predictions in chat on how many LeBron trades are going to be in this video. I feel like there's going to be a lot of fucking LeBron trades in this video from those Cavs teams, even from those Lakers teams. Miami, not so much. But put predictions in the chat if y'all think that's going to be a good predictions. To any Let's Keep It a Buck fans, I'll be gifting subs later in the month. Got a new job, and the starting pay is $50K yearly. Hey, congratulations, man. Congratulations. You see what I'm saying? That's dope right there. That's dope. Ganger says, yo, BSOLZ, would you ever play Val?
I just thought about that Almeet thumbnail you made and bursted out laughing. Shit was so funny for no reason.
That was a funny ass thumbnail. That was a funny ass fucking thumbnail, man. Janger? I don't know how to say her name. He says, yo, BSOLZ, would you ever play Val with viewers? Because I'd love to get in the game with you. I'm not gonna lie, chat. I will actually be streaming again tomorrow. And a part of my stream is playing with y'all. It's gonna be a pretty chill, light stream. It's not gonna be like heavy hitting like this stream. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get the most out of this raid. So
that last part, believe it or not, is 100% true with our first trade, Carmelo Anthony to the New York Knicks. Back at the trade deadline in 2011, it was clear that Melo did not want to be with the Nuggets anymore. They'd had some playoff success, but he had his eyes set on a bigger market, specifically New York. This was an especially dire situation for the Nuggets because Melo was an unrestricted free agent in 2011, and without him, their team would be a complete disaster. Their hand was forced, and Melo got his wish, being sent to the Knicks for Wilson Chandler, Raymond Felton, Danilo Gallinari, Timofey Mozgov, and 3 first-round picks. The actual trade was much more complicated, but those...
Bro, I remember this trade when this fucking happened, because this was within, like, the first year of me really getting into basketball, or, like, year and a half. The amount of shit that, like, was involved in this trade really threw me off. And I'm not gonna lie, chat, and this is my dumbass back then, I really wasn't a big fan of this trade. I don't know if y'all remember, but, like, and maybe this is just my wacky-ass memory. Like, the Knicks were doing good with fucking Amari Stoudemire. They were doing really good, so I was like... Why the fuck would y'all trade all of this for Carmelo Anthony? Y'all are doing just fine, but nah.
Are the main pieces. With the Knicks, Melo had some great moments, but the promise of pairing him with Amari Stoudemire just never quite came together the way that fans hoped. Amari dealt with injury issues, and the Knicks were never truly a threat to make the finals with Melo, but for the Nuggets, this turned out to be one of the most significant trades in franchise.
Yeah, I seen Jamal Murray in this screenshot right here.
Franchise history. Every piece in the deal helped them in some way over the years, either on the court or as a trade asset, but most importantly, the 2016 first-round pick that they got in this trade became Jamal Murray, who is the second best player on their 2023 title team, and without him, even with the brilliance of the rest of the roster, they don't win that title. This trade's kind of a weird one to look back on in hindsight because both teams did pretty well in the immediate aftermath, and of course the Nuggets win a title because of the deal, but I wonder if this situation had happened today, if the Knicks would have just waited to sign Carmelo a few months later in 2011 free agency, which they had the money to do and could have kept the asset from a trade instead. Next up is an unprecedented moment in the history of the league, Chris Paul to the LA Clippers.
Ooh,
the reason, of course, is that Paul was never supposed to end up with the Clippers.
This one was controversial as fuck.
Back in 2011, the New Orleans Hornets franchise was not in a good place at all, and were actually without an owner completely. In place of that, the team was actually owned by the NBA itself, essentially putting at the time NBA Commissioner David Stern in place as the owner of the team. To make things that much worse, their best player, Chris Paul, had requested a trade from the team as well. They had little to no direction moving forward, and he didn't want to waste his prime as one of the best guards in the league on a team without any chance of being good soon. As a result, the Hornets agreed to a trade to send Paul to the Lakers, a 3-team trade in which the Rockets would get Pau Gasol and the Hornets would get Lamar Odom, Kevin Martin, Louis Scola, Goran Dragic, and draft compensation. The GMs of both teams agreed to the deal, and it seemed like Chris Paul was going to be a Laker. However, and again, this has never happened before, the league itself vetoed the trade. More accurately, David.
My young ass at the time, chat, and again, this is just funny because I'm remembering this as shit was going on as a young buck in the NBA space, bro. I was like, good for the NBA. I ain't gonna lie, good for the NBA. All right, put your fucking foot down, buddy. These super teams are getting out of hand. I really was not a big fan of the super teams back then, which is crazy because in hindsight, I was a fucking Celtics fan who benefited from the super team era. But like back then, I was like, yo, bro, not too much on these super teams. They're getting out of hand. Relax.
David Stern, as acting owner of the Hornets, declined the trade and it was called off. The only reason that the league had any say in the deal was because of the unique ownership situation at the time, and it's also important to understand that there was pushback from other owners around the league that the Paul to the Lakers deal was simply unfair and that the Lakers weren't giving up enough in the deal, creating somewhat of a super team in LA.
I need y'all to remember how good Chris Paul was in his prime,
Ultimately,
bro.
not much later,
Y'all have forgotten how good Chris Paul was in his
this
prime.
time to the Clippers in exchange for Al-Farouq Aminu, Eric Gordon, Chris Kaman, and a first-round pick. While in LA, Paul led the Clippers to their most relevant era ever as a franchise. They were the most exciting team in the league with CP3, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan, creating Lob City in LA. Unfortunately, due to injuries and other factors, though, they never had the kind of postseason success
that just wasn't
their
the
talent
same,
suggested
bro.
they should have had. For the Hornets, this trade package turned out to be awful. None of the players did anything significant for the franchise, and the first-round pick became Austin Rivers, who also did nothing for them. They were bad enough the following season to earn the first pick in the 2012 draft, though, which got them Anthony Davis, who turned into a ton of stuff down the line in a trade with, ironically, the Lakers. But honestly, either trade package for Paul from either LA team would have and ended up being pretty much a complete disaster. Next up is a crazy one because there are just so many pieces to this deal. Back in the summer of 2012, we finally got a resolution to the years-long Dwight Howard saga in Orlando. He went from requesting a trade to opting into a new contract to requesting a trade again, and in the summer of 2012, he finally got his wish. But this turned into a massive...
This one, ironically, and I think it's going to refer to the Lakers trade, I was actually a fan of, but still for the same dumbass reason of like, yo, I ain't gonna lie, these super teams are getting out of hand. Like LeBron, you're ODing. But if you want to play this game, bro, at least give Kobe like a super team so we can do super team versus super team type shit. I like this trade. I wish it actually panned out, to be honest with you.
4-team deal. Essentially, and this is very complicated, so I'm going to put the full trade on screen here. The Lakers traded Andrew Bynum to the Sixers. The Sixers traded Andre Iguodala to the Nuggets. The Magic traded Dwight Howard to the Lakers. And the Nuggets sent out some contracts.
I think I've just always been a toxic fan, is what I'm understanding now.
Teams. Let's start with the Lakers. This was the summer of the LA Super Team. As a year after failing to acquire Chris Paul, they added Steve Nash and Dwight Howard to Kobe Bryant and put together what was thought to be a legitimate super team. Expectations were sky high after the Howard trade, and they failed to meet every single one of them. Injuries and a lack of chemistry resulted in the Lakers barely even being relevant that season, and Howard himself left the team in free agency after just 1 year, one of the biggest super team disasters of all time. The Nuggets also lost the main player in this deal after just 1 season, as Iguodala joined a group that would go on to be the surprise of that season, winning 57 games despite not having a true star on the team. Unfortunately, they were upset in the first round by the Warriors, and then that offseason, Iguodala forced his way to the Warriors themselves, with the Nuggets getting basically nothing in return, and Iggy would go on to win Finals MVP and multiple titles with the Warriors. The Sixers were also a huge part in all of this. They thought that by adding a player as talented as Bynum, they could transition to a new era post-Iguodala.
Since we own CP3, I don't think it's crazy to say that he's slowly becoming underrated because of his recent years.
I would tend to agree, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Chris Paul is so weird because he's a fancy player, but he's also not fancy at the same time. Like, does that make sense, chat? Like, if you actually think about it, Chris Paul has like probably a top 15, top 10 handle of all time, but at the same token, he's like fundamental as fuck to a fault when it comes to like the aesthetics of his game. You know what I'm saying? I think like his style of play is boring now for like today's standard. But when you look back at like 08, 09, 2010 Chris Paul, bro, yeah, his handles were like top 5 in the league. Like, easy. Easy, too. Easy.
Also remaining competitive, and that simply did not happen. Due to injuries, Bynum played literally 0 games with the Sixers and played just 26 total NBA games after being traded from LA, despite being just 25 years old at the time of the deal. This trade would go on to truly be the beginning of the process in Philly, as a year later during the 2013 draft, they traded away Drew Holiday for Nerlens Noel and a pick, putting them on a path to years of tanking. The Magic were actually the big winners in this massive deal. They ended up with Nikola Vucevic in the trade, which at the time seemed like a throw-in, but he became an all-star caliber player for them and then was later moved for Franz Wagner and Wendell Carter Jr., neither of which would be on the team without the original Dwight Howard deal. Next up is the single worst trade in the history of the league, and that is not an exaggeration. Back in the 2013 offseason, the Celtics and Nets were going in different directions. The Nets had brought in Darren Williams to go with Joe Johnson and Brook Lopez, and they thought that they would be title contenders that season.
Bro, I was so sad when this trade happened, chat. I was so fucking sad when this trade happened, bro. I understand in hindsight, it really ultimately was what needed to be done, bro. But, like, yo, the big three Celtics was really what I grew the fuck up on. And for that era to just be done just like that, I was like, no way, bro. We got one more in them. You know what I'm saying? They got one more ring in them, bro. No way this is happening right now.
The Celtics, meanwhile, were transitioning to a new era after years of competing with Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and Kevin Garnett leading the way. That summer, the Celtics made the shrewd decision to dump 2 pillars of their franchise, Pierce and Garnett, and start a complete rebuild. The deal was Pierce, Garnett, and some other...
We fleeced those frauds, BSOLZ.
Yes, we did. We really did, bro. Holy fuck. Holy fuck. Motherfuckers really tried to clown us, though, when they formed that Harden, KD, Kyrie, super team. Because everyone was saying, listen, y'all might have fleeced us in 2014, but what the fuck that got y'all, man? We still got a ring before y'all. Like, all right. Thank God they didn't win a ring. Just off that alone. I ain't gonna lie.
Stuff to the Nets for some expiring contracts and multiple first-round picks and pick swaps back to Boston.
Hey, shout out to Nolan, by the way.
At the time, this seemed pretty harmless as the Nets
I did used to stream at like 9 a.m.
to be good for the next few seasons. The problem was the Nets were a disaster immediately. Injuries, poor coaching, and egos all got in the way right from the start, and within a few years, the Nets were one of the worst teams in the entire league and still owed all of their first-round picks to the Celtics. Ultimately, this trade reads today as a handful of games.
God damn, I'm going crazy with the TTS.
Jordan, Braun, Kareem, Bill Russell, Kobe, Magic, Duncan, Hakeem, Shaq, Bird, 11, Curry, 12, Wilt. What do you rate my top 12?
Oh, I need to bring that up one more time. That was not on the screen long enough. From the sounds of it, though, it looked like you got the right names. But let me bring this shit back up, bro. All right. So, bro said Jordan, Kareem, or Jordan, Braun, Kareem, Bill Russell, Kobe, Magic, Duncan, Hakeem, Shaq, Bird, Curry, Wilt. Top 12. I'm assuming these are in order. I'm gonna be honest, depending on the day, Bill Russell can be as high as 4 to me and as low as like 8 or 9. But I'm personally not too mad at Bill Russell at 4. I know some motherfuckers really feel a way about Bill Russell, so that's fine. All troll aside, I do have Duncan over Kobe, even though Kobe is my preferable player, my favorite player. I would probably also have Magic over Kobe. So Kobe would probably slide down to where Duncan is for me. Hakeem over Shaq I like. Bird is so iffy to me because I understand why, but I also don't, because the fact that Magic can be as high as like 5 for people, but in the same era, like everyone thought of them as toe-to-toe and their longevity is about the same. For me, it's like, how the fuck can one be at 5 and one be at 11? You know what I'm saying? I do think Curry is over Hakeem, Shaq, and Bird at this point. Wilt at 12. Hey, this might be a hot take in and of itself, man, but KD might be over Wilt. I don't know. I don't know. I might have to revisit that so I can really analyze it. But I'm just not really. The more and more I look into fucking Wilt's career, I'm really not that impressed anymore, man. I ain't gonna lie.
Games from Garnett and Pierce with the Nets in exchange for the picks that would become Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. An entire era of Celtics basketball was created with just one trade, with the Nets getting absolutely nothing in return. And as if that wasn't bad enough, one of the expiring contracts in the Celtics deal was Gerald Wallace, who the Nets had acquired for a first-round pick the year before, and that pick became Damian Lillard. So essentially, the Nets traded Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Damian Lillard for nothing, all in an 18-month span. There will never be a worse stretch of team building in NBA history,
bro. That's tough.
We move on now to what I think is a really underrated trade.
Oh, here's the first LeBron trade.
Cavaliers. In the summer of
here's the first LeBron trade.
Announced that he would be returning to Cleveland after 4 years away in Miami, and with Kyrie Irving already there and some other young talent on the roster, the future looked bright. However, LeBron wasn't going to wait around for that future to develop to compete for championships.
There's a first trade, chat.
The Cavs held the #1 pick in the draft again, their third time in 4 years, and had selected Andrew Wiggins, but it seemed obvious that LeBron had other plans in mind when he returned to the Cavs. In August, Cleveland flipped some of their young assets into a disgruntled star, Kevin Love, who'd been wasting away in Minnesota while developing into one of the best bigs in the league. The deal was the Cavs sent Wiggins and Anthony Bennett to Minnesota while sending a first-round pick to the Sixers. The Sixers sent Thaddeus Young to Minnesota, and the Timberwolves sent Kevin Love to the Cavs. Cleveland, this trade certainly helped them win the 2016 title. Although Love was obviously the third best guy on the team behind LeBron and Kyrie, his floor spacing and rebounding were critical to their success. The unfortunate thing for him is his career completely changed as a result of this trade. They won a title.
Let me ask you this, chat. How many rings does that Cavs team win if they don't trade for Kevin Love? If they don't trade for Kevin Love, excuse me. Because I'm not going to lie, chat. I still think they can pull one off with even like rookie sophomore Andrew Wiggins. Maybe. Because I'm going to be honest, chat. If y'all look back at how Kevin Love was playing in those finals, he really wasn't like that. Bro. He was playing pretty fucking bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine if Andrew Wiggins was healthy in 2015. Do they pull that off? Maybe. I don't know. 2016, does Kevin Love being or not being on that team really make a difference between them coming back from 3-1 or not? I don't know, bro. I don't know.
Title, yes, but he completely changed his game. In Minnesota, he was the primary offensive guy, scoring in the post and spending a ton of time at the basket while also spacing the floor, whereas in Cleveland, he was basically just a floor spacer on offense. I'm sure the title was worth it, but it was pretty shocking to see just how much being on LeBron's team changed how Love was forced to play. For the Timberwolves, this was not a great trade. Bennett did nothing for them, and although Wiggins had some great moments, he never really broke out the way most people thought that he would, despite some impressive stats early on. A few years later, they actually had to use a first-round pick just to dump Wiggins to the Warriors, where of course he did blossom into an all-star caliber player. They did get D'Angelo Russell back in that deal, and he ended up being fine for them, but to just get a few solid seasons from a few starters in exchange for a player of Love's caliber at the time is a pretty rough return. Now we have our first 3 trade section of the video, and they all involve Jimmy Butler. After being the 30th pick in the 2011 draft, Butler eventually developed into an all-star in his first few seasons with the Bulls. The problem was, as they were figuring out what the post-injury Derrick Rose era would look like, they decided to rebuild. So on draft night in 2017, Butler was sent to the Timberwolves in exchange for Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine, and Lauri Markkanen. The Timberwolves were on the verge of actually being relevant and traded for Butler to accelerate that process. They had Karl-Anthony Towns and the previously mentioned Andrew Wiggins and viewed Butler as the piece that could put them over the top, and for the most part, they were right. They finally snapped their long playoff drought the following season, despite some injuries to Butler. A significant
for the most part is kind of gassing
it. The problem was,
I don't know.
Butler really didn't like being with the Timberwolves. He didn't see it as a winning situation for himself
they
long term, and after just a year,
bro.
forced his way out to the Sixers, which we'll talk about here in a second. Meanwhile, for the Bulls, this trade worked out pretty well for them. Considering they wanted to rebuild, LaVine being swapped out for Butler
shout out to the 180 in the rhythm, by the way.
Even though Dunn and Markkanen never quite developed in Chicago. Both of them would later move on and not provide much in return, although Markkanen has suddenly developed into an all-star caliber player in Utah. Now to the second Butler trade, this time to the Sixers. As I mentioned, he wanted out of Minnesota, and the Timberwolves got back Robert Covington and Dario Saric.
Hey SOLZ, have you reacted to the new Steve Nash video from Thinking Basketball?
No, I have not. I'll probably react to it tomorrow, Because I'm not going to lie, chat, I do not have the energy to watch a 22-minute video and then a 30-minute video. But yeah, I might do it tomorrow.
In exchange for him being sent to Philly. Now, those were actually more significant pieces
Respectfully, shout out
at
to
the
the
time
creators,
than it
by the
might
way.
seem right now, but that was really low value.
It's like 11 o'clock, though.
Just think about the difference between what the Timberwolves had to send away a year prior compared to what they got back in this deal. This was truly a disaster for them, as neither Covington nor Sarge ended up having a huge impact on the team. There were concerns about Butler at the time, namely his behavior in Minnesota and injuries that were piling up, but his value still should have been higher than this in hindsight. The team that benefited, of course, were the Sixers, who added Butler to Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid to create what is, in my opinion, the best team of the process era. They were the best defense in the league, and I truly thought they could win the title that year, but they lost to the eventual champion Raptors in Game 7 in the 2019 playoffs, missing out on their best chance at a title. Which brings us to the third Butler trade. One of the other big risks of the Sixers bringing him in the first place was that he was a 2019 free agent, and that also likely lowered his value in a trade previously. Ultimately, he used that to his advantage to force a sign-in.
The Sixers gotta stop, bro. And I know I'd be going like crazy hard on the Sixers, but they have just pulled so many like go big or go home trades that are ultimately just, hey, let's just stack up as much star power as much as we can. And it just never has worked out. To the tune of like, they can't even get out the second round, bro. That's still always like, oh, it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, that still like does not make sense for me. They haven't made it out the second round, bro. And Nike said in the chat, sup the title. Can I donate a hot take? Yes, you can, man. TTS is active. And just throughout the whole stream, I wanna see some of y'all hot takes, man, through the TTS. And I'll react to them type shit.
And trade to the Miami Heat, a team that did not have the cap space to outright sign Butler as a free agent. There was the threat of him leaving for a new team for nothing, so the Sixers felt as though they might as well get something in exchange for him in a trade, and the Heat sent them Josh Richardson, who really didn't contribute to the Sixers at all, despite breaking out in Miami the prior few seasons. Meanwhile, with the Heat, Butler has led the team to 2 finals appearances, and after 4 seasons and 4 years, has finally found a home in Miami.
BSOLZ, don't know if this is a hot take, but I don't think Iverson is top 30 when I think of names like Harden, Westbrook, Dirk, Baylor, Wade, Bozo Malone, Moses Malone, etc.
Bozo Malone is crazy. I'm gonna be honest, I agree. The last time I made a top 50 list, bro, like, Allen Iverson was not that high. And it honestly pissed a lot of people off. But yeah, man. Respect to Allen Iverson and the impact that he had on the game, but I also don't think he's that high on my list. So I agree with that take. And also, let the alert hang out a little longer too. Let me go for 25 seconds. All right.
Moving on now to one of the weirdest trade situations of
the subbing count for TTS. I think if you resub, yes, but.
all time, Kyrie Irving to the Boston Celtics. After winning the title in 2016, it seemed like everything was fantastic in Cleveland, and it was for everyone except
this
Kyrie Irving.
right here,
he was so upset with the organization having to play alongside LeBron that he actually nearly requested a trade that same offseason, just a few months after hitting one of the most iconic shots in NBA history. Ultimately, he stuck it out for one more season, and then in the 2017 offseason, he officially requested a trade from the Caps, which basically ended that entire era.
This shocked so many people,
Kyrie was able to use the leverage of a possible knee surgery to force them to trade him, basically telling them that if they didn't move him, he'd get the surgery late and miss a lot of the upcoming season. In the end, Kyrie got his wish. He was traded, just not really to where he wanted to go. The Celtics traded Jay Crowder, Isaiah Thomas, Ante Zizic, and a 2018 first-round pick from the Nets in exchange for Irving. In hindsight, this deal looks terrible, but at the time, it honestly seemed pretty fair.
Yeah,
Kyrie was a complete wild card and had some injury issues, and Isaiah Thomas was coming off of a second-team All-NBA season. Not to mention that 2018 Nets pick was seen as extremely valuable around the league. This deal gave the Cavs some depth and assets to build the team, and a pretty close Kyrie replacement in Thomas. That was the idea, at least, but in reality, Thomas fighting through a hip injury in the 2017 playoffs completely ruined his career, and none of the other pieces mattered at all for the Cavs in their final year with LeBron. They also famously refused to use the Nets pick to add pieces to the roster, fearing, correctly, that LeBron was just going to leave anyway in the 2018 offseason. That pick ultimately became Colin Sexton, who was used to acquire Donovan Mitchell, yes, but never did much for Cleveland besides put up some empty stats. For the Celtics, things did not go much better. There were moments where it looked like it would be a great fit with Kyrie, with him even going so far as to say publicly that he would re-sign.
I personally thought it was a great fit. Injuries just fucked everything up, bro. At the end of the day, injuries just fucked everything up, man. I ain't gonna lie.
But then things changed quickly because honestly, he never wanted to be in Boston in the first.
Injuries was like the first snowball into everything that happened for the Celtics. Not to say that everything just fell because of the injuries, but it was like it just activated everything from the egos to the you know what I'm saying, to the actual injuries taking into effect, bro. It just, God. Yeah, and yes, I am getting PTSD, bro. Yes.
First place.
Yes, Andrew.
The team started to fall apart. Kyrie quit on them, and just 2 years later, he signed as a free agent with the Nets. The assets they traded away ultimately weren't that valuable, but the once promising Kyrie.
PKK.
I asked ChatGPT a hot take and this was its response. The Knicks will win a title in the next 5 years. For me personally, Chat trippin'.
Yeah. It's a hot take. I just don't think it's gonna happen. I ain't gonna lie. It's a hot take. I just do not think that shit is gonna happen. By the way, chat, let me know what y'all want to do after this. Do y'all want to react to more basketball content? I got some other content to react to. Depending on the vibes of the stream. Hey, we can game as well. You know what I'm saying? We can play Valorant. We can play 2K. Those are my 2 main games right now that I really want to play. Honestly, chat. All right. I want to do this. I thought about this. I keep on forgetting the idea. If we reach the sub goal today of 10 subs, we gonna play a scary game, chat. We gonna play a scary game. We gonna play I feel like, I'm not gonna lie, chat, I feel like me playing scary games would be funny as fuck, because I get scared pretty fucking easily. And I'm gonna be honest, chat, I don't really game like that, but I want to get into gaming. So there's so many games that I want to try out, bro, that I will genuinely have like a legitimate first reaction to. That would be funny as fuck. That would be funny as fuck, bro. If we can get the 10 subs today, the very next stream, which is gonna be tomorrow. Tomorrow might just be a gaming stream. I ain't gonna lie. Tomorrow might just be a fucking gaming stream if we can get to 10 subs this stream. But we'll see. We'll see, man. We'll see.
Era was pretty much a disaster, with him playing just 9 playoff games total in 2 seasons. Next up is actually 2 trades involving the same player. Back in 2017, Paul George
don't play
had
me. I have
basically
no
decided
regrets
to
in my
move
own
on
pockets.
from the Indiana Pacers. After a few successful playoff runs and elevating himself to an All-NBA player and recovering from a terrible leg injury a few seasons prior, he was simply ready to move on to a new situation that represented a better opportunity to win a championship. To make things more complicated for Indiana, he also had just 1 year left on his contract. He even went so far as to tell the team specifically that he would be leaving when his contract was up.
Tomorrow I'm going to be streaming at 2:30. Also, Andrew, can you put a poll up in the chat to see what motherfuckers want to do next?
So they might as well trade him to get value in return.
So
the rumors at the time were
why
that
the
the
fuck did I
Lakers
say?
were a heavy favorite to sign
I'm
him
mid
that
at Valorant.
season,
If not
so
bad,
other teams
probably
were hesitant
bad.
to give up a ton to get him, further complicating the situation.
I'm bad.
For
I'm
the
bad at
Pacers.
Valorant.
Ultimately, in the summer of 2017, the Oklahoma City Thunder came out of nowhere and took the risk, sending Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis to the Pacers in exchange.
The OKC trade did come out of nowhere,
people
man.
Freaked out about this for a variety of reasons. First off, most people thought PG was worth way more than that.
I thought he was going to LA. I thought he was going to Cleveland and Boston. Those were the 3 main teams for me. Boston was always in the mix for any star during that time because of those Brooklyn picks. Y'all might say I'm being biased at this point, but I swear to God, bro, motherfuckers were really making a big deal out of those Brooklyn picks at that time. And like literally any star on the market, everyone was saying, hey, the Celtics didn't trade for that dude, bro.
And they were right, but the contract situation lowered his value. Also, that exact trade package that the Thunder
I'm
sent
gonna be in the Discord tomorrow to play Valorant with y'all.
in exchange for Serge Ibaka a year earlier from the Magic. Serge Ibaka was a good player at the time, but in no world did him and George have the same trade value. But again, the contract was a huge part of this, and it was a massive risk for Oklahoma City.
All right, pause
there
up,
was no
chat. Pause up,
guarantee
pause
that
up,
George
pause up.
wouldn't just leave in free agency a year later, and giving up assets for PG when Kevin Durant had also recently left in free agency in 2016 was putting a lot on the line for the future of the franchise. And mostly, this was a genius move for OKC. They never had a ton of playoff success while George was there, but he did sign an extension in the 2018 offseason, and that move Making this trade and convincing PG to stay set up the entire future of the franchise. Which brings us to the second Paul George trade. In the summer of 2019, Kawhi Leonard was looking to head to LA as a free agent after just winning a title with the Raptors, and the Lakers and Clippers were competing.
The link to Let's Keep It a Bug don't work. Hold on. I'll link it right now. I think there's actually there's motherfuckers playing 2K right now. I'm feeling I'll link it in the chat. All right, this should be a working link.
For his services. That summer, he went to the Clippers and said that if they were willing to bring in Paul George, he would sign with them.
You just got to provide membership
proof,
man.
Which was a pretty crazy request, considering George had just signed a massive contract with OKC the summer before, and at the time, star players getting traded with multiple years left on their deals wasn't common at all. So the Clippers called the Thunder, and they were caught completely off guard. OKC was set on building around PG and Russell Westbrook, and weren't planning on changing their minds. Ultimately, the deal got done, and all it took from the Clippers was every single asset that they had. Expiring contracts, SGA, and all the first-round picks and pick swaps they could trade.
The SGA trade, bro. I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm not gonna lie, chat. I thought SGA was nice. I thought it was cool. But, chat, I did not think SGA would be as good as SGA is right now. Like, bro has literally top 5 player in the world potential, bro. That is insane. That is insane, chat. That is insane.
Ultimately, it was a trade for Kawhi Leonard as well. And what that deal has turned into for both sides is crazy. The Clippers haven't had the success that they hoped to when they made the deal due to injuries, while the Thunder secured the brightest future in the entire league. Not only did SGA end up becoming one of the best guards in the league, but they also used one of the Clippers picks to get Jalen Williams from Santa Clara, and they still have a ton of assets left over as well. Without that initial trade with the Pacers and the subsequent contract extension from George, the Thunder roster would look completely different. Next up is Kawhi Leonard to the Toronto Raptors. In 2018, the Raptors were a team without a true direction. They had been a contending team for years behind Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan, but always struggled to get over the hump in the postseason. However, things changed that summer as LeBron left the East to go to the Lakers, and the Raptors saw a true championship window and put together one of the riskiest NBA trades of all time. Meanwhile, Kawhi Leonard was causing all kinds of drama in San Antonio, and after years of development and turning into an MVP caliber player with the Spurs, he became frustrated with the team's handling of his injuries over the years and demanded a trade. This was a weird situation because Kawhi hadn't been healthy in a while and had just 1 year left on his deal, so the market for him was not fantastic. Ultimately, the
I do want to do more React content though, Chad.
Jakob Poeltl and a first-round pick that would become Keldon Johnson to the Spurs for Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green. And with that move, the Raptors won themselves a title. Kawhi got healthy, Toronto was a great team, and after an unbelievable postseason run and bad injury luck for the Warriors in the final,
that whole Raptors run was, I keep saying it was so crazy, but like, imagine if the Raptors didn't win, bro. Imagine if the Raptors traded for Kawhi and like he just left the season after, and vice versa for Kawhi. Imagine if he went to the Raptors and did nothing. I feel like the blow would be harder for the Raptors than Kawhi, but like, I'm just trying to think of Kawhi's legacy right now, and like, Kawhi has legitimate like top 30, top 25, top 20 conversation potential now because of that ring. If that shit doesn't happen, bro, is Kawhi still like that type of player? Probably not.
The Raptors won the 2019 title. It's pretty rare for a trade to lead so directly to a championship.
I know why Kawhi
but that's
left,
exactly what happened here.
He wanted to go home.
Unfortunately, even a championship wasn't enough to keep Kawhi in town, as after just that 1 year with the team, he left for the Clippers in free agency. For the Spurs, they actually got a decent haul considering the situation at the time. I still think they could have gotten more, but DeRozan was good for them, and they later got some assets for him in a trade with the Bulls. Poeltl turned into a solid starter, and they got some stuff for him in a trade for the Raptors, and Johnson is a key part of their future. Not as much as you'd like for a future Hall of Famer, but not bad. Moving on now to Anthony Davis ending up on the LA Lakers. In 2019, Davis had made it clear that he no longer saw a future with the New Orleans Pelicans. they'd had some success but had really struggled to put a top-tier team around him, despite him developing into one of the best players in the league, and he was seeking a move to one team and one team only, the LA Lakers. He had many connections with the team already, including sharing an agency with LeBron James, and basically told every other team in the league not to trade for him because he would simply leave as a free agent in 2020 and join the Lakers anyway. This whole situation did
that was corny to me, by the way.
And it was a
that was corny
process, but eventually, just like with the Paul George situation earlier, the Lakers made an offer that they couldn't refuse. Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, the 4th pick in the 2019 draft, and all of the first-round picks and pick swaps the Lakers could offer in exchange for Anthony Davis. This was one of, if not the biggest trades in league history, and it ended up being completely worth it. A year and a half later in the bubble, the Lakers celebrated yet another title led by LeBron and Davis, and despite the insane cost, any trade that leads to a championship is 100% worth it. For the Pelicans, they obviously got a lot in return, but it hasn't worked out exactly the way they planned. Both Lonzo and Hart were later moved for some assets that have helped them, but not a ton. Ingram has turned into an all-star caliber player, which is fantastic.
AD is another one of those players, chat, that like, it seems like yesterday, bro, but comparing today's AD to 2017, 2018 AD is kind of crazy, bro. 2017, 2018 to 2020 AD is a different fucking animal, bro.
Okay, I think this is one. If Miami get Damian, they getting bounced out of the first round by Bucks or Celtics. No depth equals no coasting for Jimmy means not enough rest.
I don't know about getting bounced out in the first round, because that kind of assumes they'd be like a 7-8 seed with Dame. But hey, I'm gonna be honest, chat. The more I really think about it, if Dame goes to Miami, man, I'm still confident that the Celtics can beat them. I'm gonna just keep it a bean. Motherfuckers might look at that and say, like, the Celtics barely improved, and the Heat got Dame, and they went to 7 last year and beat the Celtics, so obviously the Heat will win, but I don't know.
They used the 4th pick in 2019 to get more assets that did get them Herb Jones, but not much else, and they've yet to get another meaningful player with any of the extra draft assets. Ingram himself makes this a good trade for them, but not as great as it might have initially seemed. Last one now, and it's one of my favorites. In the summer of 2019, every big name star was changing teams around the league, it felt like, and that was certainly true in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
After years of struggling, the Nets were able to sign both Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant in the same summer, putting them on a path to championship contention. But in reality, the KD signing was a trade. For the Nets, it actually made sense for cap reasons to bring in Durant as a traded player, and the Golden State Warriors sent them a first-round pick along with KD to help make it happen. That pick didn't end up conveying, but what did was the Nets sending back, among other contracts, D'Angelo Russell. The Warriors convinced D'Lo to join them after his first All-Star appearance with a massive max contract, and it was one of the best decisions they ever made. Getting anything in return for Durant leaving as a free agent was always going to help them, but this one actually helped them win a title. The D'Lo
because they
experiment
ended
never
up
worked
getting
out
Wiggins.
with the Warriors, but having
That's crazy.
The only reason
that is crazy.
They were able to later bring in Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga as a first-round pick in 2020. They bet on themselves being able to turn around Wiggins' career.
That is crazy.
Right. As he developed into an all-star, and without him, they simply don't win the 2021 title, as he was one of the best players in the series. For the Nets, the KD era certainly was a disappointment, but there were some great moments, and in many ways, it really could have been incredible had some other things gone their way. And that's it. All of the craziest and most incredible trades from an insane decade in the NBA.
So, man, shout out to Sporting Logically for the video, man. A lot of great trades happened this decade, man. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of blockbuster trades.